Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of our campus placement interview series. Today we have Sagrika here with us. She received an offer from Deloitte USI in 2020. Let's know more about how she converted this company. Hi Sagrika, how are you?
Hi Shubham, I'm good and congratulations on this amazing initiative and thank you for inviting me over.
It's great to have you here, Sagrika. So today we have you here because I got a query in my last video that is there any difference between a person who's applying to Deloitte and he's pursuing BCom honors or BCom program? So my first question to you is I'll directly open with that is there any advantage or disadvantage being in these courses?
I don't think so. I believe that if you talk about the advantage of or disadvantage of being in honors or non-honors course, that can be a whole different point or a whole different topic. But when it comes to these campus placement, I believe if any company is applying or they are allowing the course to sit for their campus placement, they don't believe that there's a difference with any of those courses. Otherwise they would not have put it in the eligibility criteria, what I believe. And I believe once you are in the group discussion or in the interview or in the aptitude test, it all comes down to what your preparation is and how you are taking the questions, how you are saying your things, and it just depends on that rather on the course. So yeah.
Absolutely. So Sagrika, I'd like to know that what was your GPA at the time of applying to Deloitte?
Yeah, so I my GPA was 7.4. It was around this only 7.4.
And what was the minimum eligibility criteria for Deloitte?
I think it was 6.5. I am not sure about it. I think as far as I remember, it was around 6 or 6.5. And obviously there were no backlogs allowed. So that is something one needs to keep in mind, that you don't have a backlog from any of the other semesters.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, can you tell me more about your profile? Like how many PORs you had in college, the internships that you did?
So yeah, college has been a whole learning experience for me. And from the very first year I got into college, the very first society I got into was Finance and Investment Society, and I was a member there. Then I joined Promethean, which is the fine art society, because I enjoy painting and I enjoy drawing. So I was the treasurer there. And then with that, I had marketing head at ICDP, which is the International Coordination and Development Program. With that, I joined Commerce Association, where I ended up being the joint secretary. And then with that, I also joined Placement Cell, where I was the senior coordinator. So these were the PORs in the college life, and each one of them were a learning experience
How did
for
you
some
manage
or
to put all these PORs on one sheet of paper?
yeah. I think I was able to do my work in all this because I was enjoying the process rather than taking it as a burden. So yeah, it was a little difficult to put all these in the paper.
That's great. That's great. Were you asked questions related to your PORs, related to the societies? Like, do they actually help?
I think they do. I think they do because in a way they show that you are interested in learning new things other than the academics, and you are someone who likes to work in teams. But I would also say that it does not mean that you only need to have PORs to show that. Any other thing can show that if you volunteer somewhere, if you are doing some internship. So it's not that if you don't have a POR or if you are not joining a society, it will be a disadvantage. It's up to one's choice. So yeah, I believe that they helped me, so I was happy about that I got to learn, and in return they helped me also, so that was an added bonus.
Okay. What about internships? Where did you intern?
So I interned at two places. One was a chartered accounting firm, and the second was Maharatna, which is BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. So these were my two internships throughout.
All right. How did
Yeah.
you get these internships?
So I got them through some contacts, and one I got them through some research and by applying somewhere, and the other I got it through some known contacts. So yeah,
All right, it's good to
that
have
was
contacts. Yeah,
about it.
I can't stress on the importance of networking,
Yeah,
especially that when you're in college. All right, so
sure,
let's
sure. That
talk more about the various rounds in Deloitte that people have to go through. So, can you elaborate on the first round? I believe that was the aptitude test. How many sections were there and what were they?
So I believe the sections in the aptitude test were four, and I believe that was the first aptitude test I had given for some placement, because Deloitte was the very first company, and it was nerve-wracking to start the preparation and everything. So I would say that four sections were one was verbal ability, and then there was quantitative ability, and there was logical reasoning, and the last one was accounting. So they tried to check everything that that was aligned with the profile. So yeah, that
So,
was
how did
that.
you prepare for all of these sections? Like, were you prepping for CAT at the time?
So no, I was not preparing for CAT, and how I prepared was, I think to prepare for anything you have so much material on the internet, and then you have your books also. So I would say let's start with the LRDI and the verbal, and you can find plenty of material on the internet. And if you even search Deloitte test, you will get so many links, and most of them are useful, right? And then you have so many channels on YouTube as well to learn the things from the scratch. If you are someone who is not very much efficient in those, they tell you tricks and tips and everything from start to the advanced part. You can learn them step by step. And I would say for accounts, one should stick to 11th and 12th. That is basically more covered in that. And with that, look to your courses. The 4 semesters are done by that time, so you need to brush up a little and just go through over the summary and revise that you are familiar with the concepts that are there.
Absolutely. In the accounting section, people generally have this question that do they need to look at the cost accounting and income tax and all of that? Is that necessary?
As far as I remember, you don't have to deep dive into it. You need to have a summary about it. Like if there is a question like what is cost accounting, or the summary or the glossary part, rather than deep diving into the whole income tax part, because it is more focused towards the 11th and 12th, the concepts. They are checking how good you are at your concepts, rather than the whole practical explanation or the whole question, because the question are multiple choices, so they are not very difficult. You need to just clear up your basics so that you can also apply them in those questions.
Okay. This is something that I ask everyone, and I want you to be completely honest. Like the paper is going to be online, so is there a scope for cheating?
No, I would not recommend that at all. I don't think there's any scope for cheating, and I would personally not recommend it to you, because that paper is something which is very big. I personally, it was to me all a very big paper and a very big opportunity, and to waste that, just to gain some or 1 or 2 marks does not make sense.
Okay, so after the aptitude test, the next round coming to the group discussion round. First of all, how does one prep for group discussion round? Like
So
you
yeah,
can
I
be
think
asked
this was.
anything. Yeah. So that it's a very nervous situation for anyone who's not so confident about his communication skills, right? Any topic can be given, and at times you won't even know anything about the topic that's in front of you. So what do you advise? Where should one prep for?
Yeah, so I think the thing is that when it comes to group discussion, most of the companies are not actually looking at, your knowledge about the topic per se. They are more looking into the fact how you communicate in a group, right? It's not a debate, it's a group discussion. So your communication skills, the way you respond to others, the way you respond to things that you don't believe in or you don't agree with, it comes more to that point. And obviously you cannot be like you don't know anything about the topic. That would be a problem. But suppose if a topic comes and you don't know anything, just wait for some people to speak about it so that you can jot down some points, and then you can connect them and make up your own points. And I don't think so the topic will be like this, that you don't know at least anything, like you will be blank. So yeah, if you don't know the topic, you will have to wait and don't jump. Don't do the stupid thing of jumping first and taking the bait and trying to score that brownie point, because it won't help until you are well versed in that topic. So yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, I was told this by my senior that if you don't know anything about the topic, just listen to what the other person is saying and contradict. Don't look here and there, just contradict whatever he's saying. But it should make sense. But yeah, just contradict so that it becomes more of a discussion. Someone is criticizing anything, you gain attention from that.
That is a smart point. That is a smart
So,
point.
do you remember the topic that was given to you?
Yeah, my topic was, if I'm not wrong, the topic revolved around online teaching. It was more about how online teaching, is it beneficial, or will it bring more problems. And luckily at that time, COVID, not luckily, but yeah, COVID was there, so that topic actually helped. I was choosing the right side, right? It will help us. So that COVID thing accelerated the whole point. So yeah, my topic was this only, that online teaching, will it be beneficial or not?
So, did you start the conversation or did you conclude the GD?
So I did not start the I did not start the group discussion. Someone else did, and after that many people tried all the things, like they wanted to speak first. But I spoke at third or fourth chance. So yeah, I did not. But yeah, I would say that if you are very well versed in in the topic, you can start. It might help. But if you are not, that will be in a way pair pe kulhadi marna thing,
Yeah.
because they will catch it. The panelists, they are intelligent, they are smart, so they will catch it if you actually know about it, or you are just trying to get those brownie points.
So, did it get chaotic in the beginning?
No, no. I would say, I would say in the very start there was a little, a little problem, but I think it was more of a, the first time. If you are talking about an online GD, that tends to come. Everyone is blank, like how will this function, right? So it started. The person started. Then if the second person is trying, so two people are trying, but in a way it's settled down. And the panelists, they were there to check that everyone is getting a chance and no one is left out and things like that. So that helped us a lot to smoothen out the process.
Okay. So, any resource that a person should go through for prepping for GD?
I think one should just go through the common topics as well as the current affairs that are going. And if you think that gaining more, reading more and more topics will gain your confidence, then you can also look through abstract topics or things like that. But rather than that, it's important that you focus, that you are respectful of everyone, and you are speaking in a way that it looks that you are discussing rather than attacking. So I think that is more important. And otherwise, other than that, you can just read through some articles and everything, so that and you have new perception about the topic, rather than just blabbering or speaking nonsense there. So yeah.
True. Yeah, I completely agree. So, first of all, after getting in the final round, how did you actually prep? Like, what went through your mind? Like, how should you prepare for the interview round?
So I would say that first of all, everyone. I think it happens to everyone. The first thing, it's like, okay, wow, okay, let's settle for a moment. This is actually happening, right? So yeah. After that, what I did was, I tried not to take too much tension, because I think that is something that can ruin a whole interview process. And when it comes to even aptitude test or group discussion, what I felt, or what my thought process was to be a little light, right? So after that I started things that what will bring confidence in me, because in that interview I had to be confident, I had to be at the best version of myself and positive about things that are there, right? So I went through the common questions that the interviewer might ask. Then I started studying about the company, and then about the profile, which is very important, that you have to understand the roles and responsibility of the profile you are applying to, and then the company you are applying to. And with that I started studying my CV, which is very important, because you need to have a thorough knowledge of whatever you have done, and if they're going to be questioning, there are going to be questions on that, you are ready to answer that, and it just does not look unprofessional at your part. That CV is something that is made up of the whole thing you have done, so you should know everything about it. So yeah, that was mostly what I did.
All right. So
I
what
just
I gather is, first, know your CV well. Second, know the company, and how can one do that? He can visit the website of that company, look at the principles of that company, the work that they do, their position, their awards that they've received. And another thing is that how is attending the PPT important, the pre-placement talk?
Yeah, actually, when you said that, I also remember that, attending the PPT as well as listening to it, actually listening to it, it helps a lot, because obviously that is a company you want to work with, and you really need to understand what it does, how it does it, because Deloitte's PPT was amazing. And it was one of those factors when you are like, yes, I want to get into this organization. So you need to learn and you need to pay attention to that PPT. So attending it is very important, as well as actually paying attention and asking questions if you have some valid questions as well. So that will also help.
Perfect, perfect. So tell me about your interview experience. What happened when you went in? Was the camera on the entire time?
Yeah, the camera was on the entire time, and luckily my panel was very amazing, and they made me feel comfortable. So as far as I remember, my interview was the first one in that whole day. So I had no one to ask, okay, so how is the panel and everything. So my interview was the first one, and the tension was there. Okay, so I'm going the first in and everything, but my panel made me so comfortable, and it was the right proportion between the formal and the conversation type of thing. So it was a mixture of that, and it went pretty well. It was like really nice.
What were the kinds of questions that were asked to you?
So the question ranged from the HR part to some a little technical. So the HR question were mostly like around my CV, what I did in my college, and my internships and all that, and then a little bit about the job profile and the technicalities of the job profile and future prospects there. So yeah, that was more or
So
less the interview.
regarding the technical, like they ask you questions regarding audit?
I think they were not direct questions about audit, a little bit, over the line, I would say. They were not
Just
like
like
very much
what
technical.
audit means to you and what do you think audit is, and more of the
Yeah,
accounting on the accounting terms, right?
yeah. Why would I be inclined towards it? So the question, like, they were not hardcore technical, you will say. They were like a mixed bag around it. But yes, there were questions regarding audit, obviously, because the profile was audit.
Yeah, so technical aspects of this interview are a must for everyone. Like they need to be aware of what audit actually means. And accounts ke liye, they would have prepped at the time of aptitude. So just brush up on that. Did they ask you about your future plans as well?
Yeah, a little bit, a summary, I would say, not very much into it. They wanted to know about what I am planning to do next, or what my future plans are. Not very much technically into it, but a little bit.
Perfect. And I'd like to get this out there that a lot of people ask me this question. Is there any benefit of being in the placement cell, especially for the recruitment process of any company?
I don't think so. I believe, when you talk about placement cell, there are more responsibilities, I would say, when it comes to, being in the placement cell. Because, okay, let's see this. When your interview is there, or I remember when my aptitude was there, it was just not my aptitude test. I had also to worry about everyone that, there's no technical error there and there are mails going on that we reply them at the same time. So, it's more about the responsibilities about the placement cell.
All right. Do you want to share any, words of wisdom to our juniors?
Yeah, so okay, so for the juniors, I would say the first thing is don't underestimate yourself, right? I think the environment is like that you tend to underestimate and you are like, will I be able to do this, or should I apply for that, or should I not? If it aligns with your goal, go for it. And another thing is, don't come under too much stress about it, because I have talked to, the juniors, and some of them are very stressed. So I would say that you also need to take a break to reach to your maximum potential in those interviews. You cannot just burden yourself with everything and perform the very best. So it's important to take a break, and with that, have confidence in yourself. And I'm pretty sure the juniors are gonna do amazing. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. This was really helpful, Sagrika. Thank you for being here.